Tonight we're going to cover the fourth category of Anarthas, which are called Hṛdaya-daurbalya. Hṛdaya means heart, of the heart. And daurbalya means weakness. Bala is strength, and daurbalya means weakness or difficulty. So we see many people in this world today suffer from this weakness of heart. The educational system in particular trains us to be very weak at heart and not to have much in the way of personal plans or desires outside of very, very narrow range that is considered allowable or desirable by the corporate owners and other people who like to exploit the people. So we're trained up to follow herd mentality. Not to think for ourselves, not to observe reality and draw our own conclusions, but to listen to words and to respond to words instead of observing and thinking about what we observe. What a concept. I think it's called science. And if you do this, if you actually watch what happens and then think about it and draw your conclusions from that, it's the other one. It's over there. Yeah. You will find that the official sanctioned version of so-called reality is not reality at all. It's simply words, and people actually believe in words, and they live and die for words, such as patriotism, nationalism, thisism, thatism, different beliefs, which are all only based on words. We like to say, we don't want you to have a lot of faith when you approach the esoteric teaching. We want you to have just a little faith. Enough to try the process and observe the results in yourself. And if you try the process and you actually perform it according to all the specifications given in the scriptures, you will certainly experience the result. So we say, don't believe in my words. Try them. And sample the result. Experience it for yourself. Then you see whether or not we're telling the truth, whether or not we're believable. We don't want faith. We want credibility. We want to speak things, and then when you try them, they actually come out true. That's much better than saying, believe in this and that and the other thing. I can say, believe in Krishna. Believe that Krishna is God. Believe that Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation of God. And I suppose I would find a very small number of people who would be willing to believe that. But it's much more powerful if I can say, try this, do this, and see what happens. See if the result you get is the same that's described in the scriptures. That's much more powerful. And any person who can think for themselves is going to prefer the second approach. Because that way you actually get to determine for yourself whether or not the things we're talking about are true. And that's what makes a bona fide spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya says, Kiba Nasi, what is that? Shudra Nasi, Kiba Nasi, no. Anyway, whether you're a Brahmana or a Shudra or whatever you are, doesn't matter what you are. If you know the science of Krishna, then you are a bona fide spiritual master. That's the qualification given in the actual scriptures. That's the qualification given in our line. If you know the science of Krishna. And what is that science? Does it mean that, you know, at the mere mention of the word Krishna, I go into some trance and then, you know, or I giggle a lot, or something, you know. No, no. What it means is that I know the science. I can explain the science to you. I'm a science teacher. That's why we find that our students who have some background or inclination towards engineering, that kind of mentality, they do very well. Because this is an engineering mentality. You have a few kind of rules of thumb. A rule of thumb is not an exact scientific law, but it's a principle that guides action. And then you observe the results of your action, and then from there, by a process of successive approximation, called debugging, you reach the intended result. Because words are never perfect as a means of transmitting information. Mathematics is a little better. And we try to use our words in a mathematical, precise way, but since few people want to go to the trouble of reading the dictionary, and we can use them that way all we want, but there's still going to be some misunderstanding on the other end. Unless you, of course, are willing to go through the effort of actually learning the English language, which would make our job a lot easier if you would, but, you know, realistically, a lot of people aren't going to do that. So basically, here's what you have to do, is take what you get from the things we say, put them into practice, and see how close you get to the results. And then adjust things from there until you actually get the result. That's an engineering mentality. It's a little bit different from a Brahminical mentality or a scientific mentality, where we give precise formulations, and then you can just go into your lab and apply those immediately, get the result. That's when you reach the actual Brahminical platform, that's how it is. Simply by hearing, you can learn everything, even the practice. You can, just by hearing, you can duplicate the states of consciousness that we're describing, or that the scriptures are describing. But most people aren't on that platform. But at least you could be on the engineering platform, where you make an approximation, and then you keep refining until you get the intended result. That would be nice. But most people have a weak heart. And the 4 kinds of weakness of heart are tuccha-āsakti, attachment for useless things. Asakti means attachment. Useless things means anything that is not engageable in Krishna's service. You have some suggestions? Dogs. Krishna has a pet dog. Yeah? It's a cow herding dog. See, now that's not useless. Yeah. Cow herding dogs don't bark. No. Yeah. Huh? Yes. Poodles are nasty little things, and they're completely useless. You know why cow herding dogs don't bark? No. Because cows hate barking. Cows, yeah, they really don't like barking. They don't like being yelled at. You want to get a cow pissed off at you, just yell at her, you know. Really, you see them. They're very, very sensitive, emotional. They have those big ears, you know. So anyway, don't yell at your cow. And there's so many things that are useless in today's world. In fact, most of the things manufactured by human beings are quite useless unless they can be engaged in Krishna consciousness, Krishna's service. You go to the, who is telling us? Coca-Cola. Oh yeah, Ziggy was telling us he went to the first time he was in Russia for 3 years doing construction and stuff like that. And then he came back to the United States and he was out of toothpaste. So he went down to the store, you know, typical supermarket. And here was like a whole aisle of different kinds of toothpaste. And he was like standing there scratching his head going like, what the, which kind of, you know, and he was describing in Russia, it's like when the store has toothpaste, which it doesn't always have, you go down there and you buy like 20 tubes of toothpaste. And then you hoard it, you know, for a year. And so it's a whole different thing than when you go in the store and there's like 500 different kinds of toothpaste, you know, 1,000 different kinds of breakfast cereal, you know, 200 brands of detergent, and each one has 4 or 5 different flavors, you know. Soap comes in flavors. What is this? I mean, these are useless. These are useless things. You see, we value things in devotional service